I've now put a what I would call a primer coat on this, but it's not really. It's just XF19 from the Tamiya acrylic range, finned with Mr. Colour Rapid Finner. And that just helps. It's something I like very much, to be honest. I've used Mr. Surfacer and I find that this is far superior to all of that. They don't get any paint lift or anything, and it just shows up all the problems. And thankfully, with good work, if I do say so myself, in certain areas of blending, using the Infini sticks and just trying to be clever around the seams and actually work on things, I'm pretty happy with how everything is. There are a few bits that look a little bit skew if I'm honest. I don't know about this one. This radiator housing actually looks a bit off to me, but it's good enough for what we're doing. This isn't for competition and no one's going to be picking it up apart from me, so we don't have to worry about that so much, but I think it's pretty good. I've sprayed out the ROM02 in the wheel wells. I'm quite happy that this part as well, where we had quite a lot of issues that I've filmed, you will have seen that obviously. That's all sorted now as well. I had the confidence that the seams were gone here, so I put the panel lines in, put the photo etch cover on, and that's all okay. A little bit of an issue with the end of the cowling here with the nose. It's all a bit squiffy, if I'm honest. None of it's really right, so I decided to the lesser of two evils was to glue the back plate of the propeller hub on, because it's actually the nose cone that's a different colour. I think it's yellow in this ROM02, I'm not sure yet, but it's certainly a different colour, whereas this is the ROM63. So I can get all of this up together, and then I've done some test fitting and I've made it so that it all fits on with the propeller and the nose cone, so we've got no issues there. Flaps and ailerons went on fine. It was all no issue with that either. We've got the little plug that I've put in there to fill that hole that we mentioned as well. That's all good, so we're pretty much looking okay. The next steps to do here is there's a couple areas. There was a bit of a super glue stain there. I've got some seams here on the leading edge just there that I want to finish. I've got a fly that's appeared. Got a Venus flytrap in the window, and you wouldn't believe it, those flies never end up in there. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I digress. This is one of those kits. It's like a short run kit. I'm so glad that they didn't carry this through into the 48th series. They managed to sort that out, but this one does have a few issues. Whether it's just my kit that seems to have been kicked around the floor before it got to me, I'm not so sure, but there's issues everywhere. Even the front of the intake here for the oil cooler, I believe, don't quote me on that, might be wrong, that's actually a different colour. That's going to need to be green. I was hoping to leave that separate, but it just wouldn't have slotted in there, so I've got it in there and fettled it in a little bit. The cowling's okay. There's a little gap here around the windscreen, so I'm just going to fill that in. I have been using Perfect Plastic putty to finish off some of these seams, which has actually worked quite well. We've got some seams. There were some tiny seams here on the horizontal stabilizers, and it's fixed those. So the next thing to do is we need to put a panel line right the way along there and along here at the bottom up to this bit. Join these lines up as well across the top and the bottom. That's one of the major parts. Just check some of the seams and lost rivets around the rest of the airframe and add those in with the Rosy Riveter tool. There's 2 rows here that are quite obvious, for instance, and a few more around. Just want to check down in these corners. I notice there's a bit of filler that I haven't actually got off. So that's the next step. Then I'll add all of the aerial on at that point. There's a photo etch part here that needs to go on for the aerial, so I'll add all of those smaller parts on once I know I'm out of the way of sanding, and then we can get into the first paint coat. So we're going to have ROM 65 on the bottom, which is going to be from the MRP range. Then we're going to go 63, ROM 63 again from the MRP range on top. Then we've got some black just to go around the exhaust here and along the wing root, and that's pretty much it. After that there is white wingtips. I may actually go ahead and put the white wingtips on first and mask those up in a reverse masking, just to see how I feel really. It makes it easier. The white on this grey is a lot easier than trying to do it on the blue or the green. That is probably the route I'll go down, and with that I will be using Mr. Colour number 1. So a bit of a thicker coat. and do that. I may go down the MRP range, but it's just a white. And the yellow, which is the nose cone, we'll be using ROM04 from the MRP range as well. So I'm just letting you know that, just in case I don't actually show that too much on camera. And again, it's a simple paint scheme, so there's not going to be any finesse about it. I'm not going to do any sort of mottling, black basing, any of that. I'm just going to plough the colours on, get a nice firm coat, and then weather it afterwards. One thing I've noticed, I think this is probably me, I can't work out where it is, but somewhere between here and there, that's not squared off. You may be able to see on camera, I'm not sure. I've got a feeling it's this back bit here is actually off centre, because when I put this on, it's nice and tight, but it just won't sit right. It's either square at the back, in fact it's the windscreen, I can see that. Yeah, the windscreen's out of alignment, which probably means all the way through here is out of alignment somewhere. It's subtle enough not to notice, because this is actually going to be fixed open, so it's going to be finished sat like that. And you're never going to notice it at a glance. Again, if we were putting it into a competition, we'd have to really think about that, because they'd probably pick that up, because it is noticeable if you're actually looking for a problem. But I'm not, thankfully, and hopefully none of you lot are either. So we'll just be fixing that one like that, and that will solve a lot of the problems. But something to think about when you're in these bigger scales, it's very easy to get carried away, and you do need to really kind of line things up. So this is all being caused by the fact that we've got problems in the actual kit, but you know, there was enough input, there should have been enough input on my part to have noticed that and fixed that. We are really, it's not a massive thing to worry about, but it's just something to notice.